And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you had a lovely and wonderful break. Hope you drained your disruptors. Hope you massaged every one of your marines and stretched your roaches, because we are diving into some more matches. We still have quite a lot ahead of us here. We're going to be kicking things off with NightPhoenix versus SortOf, and a special shout out to NightPhoenix as they are in the chat as well. Welcome. Did mention earlier that we do cast quite a lot of NightPhoenix on this channel, and again, it's great to see that they were able to, partake in this offline event, that they were able to travel to Sweden and take part in this. But I'm really curious. I'm really curious how this is going to turn out, because SortOf, sure, he struggled against Lambo, and sure, he hasn't been competing for a year now, or over a year. Despite that, SortOf was still a pretty damn good player. Was still a very respectable player. So yeah, I do think that this is going to be a bit of a tough one. I'm curious. I'm very just like with StarNan, I'm very curious to see how SortOf has adapted, if at all, to the current meta. Like, I'm curious if how much practice SortOf has been putting in leading up to DreamHack. I think that even though we saw SortOf in the ZvZ hasn't changed that much. In the past year of playing, ZvZ is the same, to be honest. So I don't think SortOf, we saw that his overall play, like the grand plan in his series against Lambo, was pretty solid. Like, it was pretty straight up stuff. But in a matchup like ZvP, the meta has been shifting. A lot has been changing. Hero last year, he kind of he popularized his own meta of Oracle into Stalker play. Since then, we've been seeing the evolution of that. We've been seeing some Glaive Adept follow-ups as well in PvZ. We've been seeing a lot of Charge on Archon. We've been seeing some Colossus timings, 7 gate all-ins. There has been a lot of evolution in ZvP over the past year, over the past 2 years even. And because of that, I am concerned here for SortOf, depending on how much time he has put into preparation. Just because for a lot of the matches that we've been casting, they've been mirror matchups, and again, mirror matchups have stagnated for the most part. TVT has changed, I guess. TVT has shifted quite a lot, actually, but the other mirror matchups are still looking quite similar. So yeah, I'm really excited, because this is going to be a bit of a tell for us. This is going to show us how prepared SortOf was when he did go into DreamHack, when he did go into this event. Oh, let's go, Pop. Let's go. As game 1 is going to be taking place on Ancient Cistern. Let's go. Quite a large map, arguably a Zerg-friendly map, so again, best case scenario here for our Swedish player, but we'll see how this does unfold. As spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have the Ukrainian Protoss player representing Hot-Headed Gaming. It is NightPhoenix. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have their opponents. We have the Swedish Zerg player. Hasn't competed in a long time, not as long as StarNan, to be fair, but it's been quite a while since we have seen him. It's the Red Zerg. It is SortOf. Oh boy, here we go. SortOf going to be setting up for setting up for a hatch first here, and we'll be getting it here on location as well. You do love to see it. NightPhoenix going for a bit of a later scout, going for his gate scout instead, so SortOf is going to be able to establish his natural. Now, this will deter Glaive Adept play, or at least Twilight Council opener, a little bit, just because this means that SortOf will have an easier time defending against Glaives, just because of the creep, just because you will be able to wall off your natural as well to deny any kind of shades. So SortOf already has a bit of a defensive advantage, as opposed to what would have happened if his natural was denied, and if NightPhoenix was able to block it, for example. So already a good start here from SortOf. And you even saw with his drone movement, to be fair, the pylon block has been popular since, the COVID era of StarCraft, since 2020, back when SortOf was still competing, so he's fully aware of the threat of that probe. It's not like StarNan. I think StarNan would have, yeah. I think things would have been a little bit different with him. But for the time being, SortOf has been opening up quite nicely. Same can be said here for NightPhoenix as well. Going for their gate expand setup. And it's going to be the follow-up where I'm really going to be curious. Honestly, I guess initially I'm going to be looking at NightPhoenix to see how they open up, whether it's a Twilight Council or a Stargate. This pylon positioning does kind of scream Twilight Council to me because it is very far back. Usually if... Oh, never mind. I was about to say that usually if it's a Stargate opener, you have it a little bit more further out just to reduce the time it takes for your first Oracle to get across the map. But it looks like NightPhoenix is more concerned with hiding the tech more so than getting across the map and dealing economic damage. Meanwhile, the probe is going to be delaying the third base for a couple of seconds here. Lings have been produced and the probe is going to be shut down, so SortOf is going to be able to throw down their third base on location. Just delayed for a couple of seconds. Meanwhile, the first adept is zooming across the map, going to be threatening these bases, just going to be keeping SortOf in line. Make sure that everything is on the up and up. Again, going to be important here for NightPhoenix to figure out if we have any additional gases, make sure that we are actually saturating our base as well. Make sure that SortOf isn't going for any kind of crazy all-in. As they do have that Oracle first on the way. Wow, that's... I've seen some conservative creep tumors in my day, but that's a light VIP creep tumor. That's a... SortOf has been hurt before. Throwing down the tumor far back is going to help cover the ramp for sure, but second tumor is going to be looking to push through out onto the map. Again, making sure that the first tumor isn't sniped by any of those adepts. You'll love to see it. And we now have our first Oracle hit in the field. We have a second one behind this as well, so do have a double Oracle opener into a third base. A very standard economic opener from NightPhoenix. Nothing too crazy, nothing too aggressive. As the Oracle zooms out, the third base is nothing quite here, and also because of the overall base placement, because the natural was the natural and SortOf wasn't forced to take any kind of weird bases, it does mean that the queen movement in between these bases are much easier. We have creep connecting the bases, the queens, they can rotate over in a pretty timely fashion, and the Oracle isn't able to do too much damage. But it still retains a lot of energy, still retains its shields, and we have the second Oracle hit in the field. We have a third Oracle behind this, so triple Oracle opener here from NightPhoenix. We'll have a lot of aggressive potential. One drone already gets picked off, a second drone as well. Not too bad here, even a creep tumor. Oh, that's... Feels creep tumor, man. That was the second one that was thrown down. Does get focused down. The spore isn't done quite yet either, and NightPhoenix is pulling SortOf apart a little bit here. 5 drones going down, and the Oracles are still looking quite healthy. And now it's not just about the Oracles, it's about the Adepts as well. These are Glaveless Adepts, they are vanilla, of course, nothing too special about them, but they are here in conjunction with those Oracles. NightPhoenix is looking to deal a lot of economic damage. The Lings, they chase the Shade, but no, the Adepts, they head towards the Natural instead. 3 drones do go down. At the same time, the Oracle also dives in to throw down a Stasis Trap. Do we have a reaction? Up! Up! Oh, we don't. SortOf, he was trying to get a kill on the Stasis Trap itself, is punished for it. 4 drones do get caught in said stasis. 5 workers go down in total, and all the Oracles survive. So a great start here from NightPhoenix. He's able to get their third base up and running. We have a Blink as well as +1 on the way. Again, a pretty standard follow-up from NightPhoenix. And we can see SortOf is struggling a little bit. We can see that SortOf actually has a lower worker count than NightPhoenix, which is something that you never really want to see in a ZvP. You want to be typically ahead of your opponent in bases, ahead in workers. There's no spore! No! SortOf cutting corners is punished for it. 9 drones go down. Ay, ay, ay. The Oracles are looking for more damage, SortOf getting ready for a run by, but know that we have plenty in position to shield battery Stalkers. NightPhoenix is safe and sound here at his third base. Yeah, Lings poke in, but there's not much that they can find. Now we have a spore on the way here at the third, but again, too little too late. The damage has already been done. Oh my god! If we look at the units lost tab, SortOf has lost 20 drones this game, 20 workers, 8 Lings for 1 probe and 4 Adepts. The efficiency here from NightPhoenix is a little bit insane. It's a little bit crazy, not gonna lie. As NightPhoenix is gonna be pushing on forward here with their Blink Stalkers. +1 is done. Blink finishes up in 10 seconds. The Lings are getting ready to dive on in, but Queens are falling. One Queen gets picked off. There's not enough energy for Transfuse. I think there's one Transfuse in the chamber. Ooh. And NightPhoenix does overextend. It does finally lose an Oracle. Behind this, we have a 4th base on the way. Just getting further ahead, maintaining map control, keeping the pressure up on the Zerg player, and yeah, able to get away with some greed behind this as we're working towards our 4th base. SortOf has been able to saturate their 4th at least a little bit, but again, we can see that NightPhoenix is keeping up with the overall worker count. We have a Baneling run by being set up over on the left-hand side. Baneling speed is now done. And that's a lot of Lings. That is a lot of Lings to work with. Interesting, even though SortOf threw down a Roach Warren, he is going to be going for Ling Hydra, skipping Roach Ravager entirely. The Stalkers trading as well as they can. The Banelings are rolling in towards that 3rd base. So we have a reaction. NightPhoenix, no reaction. The mineral line will go down. 12 probes do fall. But can we defend? That's the question. We're continuing to produce more and more Oracles. The Oracles are such a great supportive unit here for NightPhoenix. They not just clear up all this creep, but they throw down stasis traps. They can even focus down the majority of these Lings. This army is still threatening. And what's crazy, NightPhoenix just lost 13 probes, just lost a mineral line, and they're pretty on par with SortOf's economy. Like, NightPhoenix is down 1 probe. Down only 1 probe. Ay, ay, ay. It shows how far ahead they were. Meanwhile, Lings are going to be diving on top of this army. The Oracles are here to support. They will be able to activate their beams, but no, we have a recall instead. NightPhoenix being forced into a corner. And yeah, these Stalkers are going to get picked off. A good trade here for SortOf, a necessary trade. At the same time, his main army is out of position. The right-hand side is looking quite compromised. Lings are coming in to reinforce, but Zealots did get into the mineral line. They're focusing down the drones. Oof. 4 more workers go down. NightPhoenix moving out here on the left-hand side. Again, the majority of the Stalkers were preserved. They were recalled earlier. The Oracles survived as well. And now we are finally taking up. We have a 2nd Robo on the way. We're getting into Colossi production. And specifically against Ling, Bane, Hydra, Colossi, they kill everything. They're good against Lings, Banelings, and Hydras. Once they come out, SortOf is going to be in a really precarious situation. This is when SortOf he needs to take into Lurkers. Ling counterattack is going to find a decent amount of damage. 8 probes do go down. The main army of NightPhoenix is looking worse for wear. Doesn't really have too much here to keep on pushing. The Hydras are enough to force NightPhoenix back. But the Colossi are about to hit the field. And if looking at the vision here, SortOf hasn't seen the Bay, hasn't seen the 2nd Robo. SortOf, he doesn't know that Colossi are on the way. He doesn't know that he needs to tech into a Spire or into a Lurker Den, or into a Hive for Vipers. There are different options for Zerg, but SortOf doesn't know that Ling, Bane, Hydra isn't going to cut it. He could try and overwhelm. There's a world where if NightPhoenix pushes out, SortOf can get us around. He can surround the army, but that's like the only win condition for SortOf. As we can see, the Colossi count getting higher and higher. They have finally been revealed. Ooh, at the same time, Baneling Runby does get a lot of worker kills. 11 probes do go down. But now NightPhoenix is looking to be aggressive. Zealot Runby towards the right-hand side does focus down the hatchery. Oh, Hydras get caught out in the middle of the map as well. A good chunk of Hydras go down for free. Hatchery falls as well. Now NightPhoenix is going to be reinforcing here with a wave of sentries. I love this decision, by the way. The Banelings, They try to roll in, but they run into the Colossi. There are no Ravagers, which means there's no way to deal with force fields. These sentries are going to do so much for NightPhoenix. At the same time, the Oracles dive into the main base. We have a massive Ling counterattack. No shield battery back at home, but NightPhoenix doesn't care. We're pushing it anyway. Force fields are thrown down. Not the best force fields, to be honest. The Banelings did make it through, and these Lings are wreaking havoc. They get the mineral line. They depower the Robos. Well, the Hydras are getting on top of the Colossi. Up, up. Ooh. There's only one Colossi left. Again, those force fields, they weren't really able to do much against the Ling Bane, and SortOf is breaking through. Is losing a lot of his economy, but it doesn't matter. The main army of NightPhoenix has fallen. We're recalling the Oracles back home. Do we have enough to hold on? I think we do. Without Banelings, these Zealots are actually gonna kill everything. Not just the Zealots, but also the one hero Colossi, the survivor. Again, this Ling Bane Hydra army of SortOf is so fragile, and I should correct myself. It's a Ling Hydra army. 2 Banelings are on the way. That's all the Banelings we have. SortOf has no more gas to work with. NightPhoenix also has a pretty crippled economy, but has a better army. By better army, I mean he has that one Colossus. Zealots try to go for a run by, but they get thrown away. They get cleaned up quite nicely by SortOf. We have a backup Robo on the way. Oracles diving into the natural to try to pull apart the attention of SortOf. No Spore in the main. More drones are going down. At the same time, some Adept harass. We can see NightPhoenix is pulling SortOf apart. Just doesn't have enough to work with. Wasn't able to keep up. And NightPhoenix is going to back off. I appreciate this. With one Colossi, we don't want to overextend. You know, we want to back off. Want to calm down. Rebuild that Colossus army. Especially because SortOf's economy is pretty crippled. We actually don't really have the resources to tech into a hive or tech into lurkers. Even though SortOf is now aware that he needs them. Doesn't really have the room for it. Is still just committed to Ling Bane Hydra. Ooh, as the Hydras do manage to pick off that Prism in the main. The focus fire as well. The targeting from these Zealots, more drones. As SortOf gets knocked down to 48 workers as opposed to NightPhoenix was 73. It's a lot of probes, Bappy. It's a lot of probes. A little bit of oversaturation, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. Some idle workers as well. But here we go. SortOf is pushing out across the map. Everything being sent over. Ling's trying to bust into the natural base. Archons and Colossi are rotating over. This is the big difference here with this army from NightPhoenix, is that this time we have a lot of Archons and they're going to do so well against the Ling Bane. Zealot run by rocks up, and yeah, this hatchery is just going to get deleted. Hatchery does fall. Ling Bane rolling in towards the 4th base of NightPhoenix. Do we have a reaction? We do! But is it going to be in time? Oh, it is. The Archons were nearby. The Banelings, they trade with stacked defense. 3 probes. Another massive loss for SortOf. I just realized SortOf didn't even have Hydra range. Oh my god. Wait, do we have... Sorry, Hydra speed. We do have Hydra range, but we didn't have speed. We now have a Lurker Den on the way. Is it too little too late? We needed this like 5 minutes ago. But a shout out to SortOf, he has been making this close regardless. Like, despite the fact that he didn't have any Lurkers or Vipers, did make this very close. And still has a pretty competitive army, but the Ling Bane, it melts in the face of these Archons. The Ling Bane just couldn't really do much against it. We have more Banelings rolling on in once again. And they get a couple of Archons at least. But now the Colossi going ham on the Hydras, and the Hydras, they can't stand up, not against this kind of army. The Zerg army just once again melts here in the face of the Protoss. And NightPhoenix is able to break on through. GG gets called. NightPhoenix takes game number 1. Ooh. But that wasn't the easiest game. GG. That was quite back and forth, actually. I think a lot of it, I think NightPhoenix was looking really good up until the push with the sentries. When we saw, I believe NightPhoenix had 3 Colossi, and I want to say like 6 or 7 sentries. And the goal of the sentries there is to cut up the army, hopefully wall off the Ling Bane to allow the Colossi to just rain hellfire on the Ling Bane and just annihilate it before it really does too much. If you remember, the Banelings rolled in and the force fields are thrown down behind it, but even though it looked like maybe the force fields were designed to like zone away the Hydras, but the Hydras were still in range. Like they had Hydra range at the time, and the force fields didn't really do too much. They left much to be desired, and as a result, NightPhoenix took a really rough fight and sort of at the same time was able to go for a massive counterattack, break the 3rd base. Things were getting really chaotic. Things were getting really close. Oh, GG. GG, well played. And with that, we're going to be getting into game number 2. Okay, we have one player leading the series, but again, it wasn't the easiest game for them. This can go the distance, as spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Babylon, we have the Ukrainian Protoss player representing hot-headed gaming. It's the Red Protoss. It is NightPhoenix. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the Swedish Zerg player. Down in this series, but again, making it quite close in the end. It's the Red Zerg. It is SortOf. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. Boy, and we'll see if SortOf can keep up with the early game aggression from NightPhoenix. If you remember, it was a while ago now because that game went so long, but there was a point, I want to say around the 8-minute mark, where we checked the units lost, and SortOf had lost 20 drones, and he'd done almost no counter damage at all to NightPhoenix. Like, NightPhoenix was pulling SortOf apart with Oracle Harass, with Adept Harass. Had such a powerful lead in the early game, going into the mid game, and SortOf is going to have to tighten up. Going to have to tighten up his defenses, going to have to make sure that if he does skip out on spores, just make sure that queens are in position, just be hyper aware of Oracle movement. It can be a difficult thing to do. It is possible, or otherwise, just throw down the spores. just throw down the spores, Papi. You know, it's a little bit inefficient, but it's worth it if if you're maybe concerned that your opponent has maybe faster mechanics or faster reaction times, better multitasking. Can help you out. We'll see. See how the openers do work out. This time we do see that SortOf was forced to take the unnatural natural as well, which means that it'll be that much more difficult to keep up with the initial Adept and the initial Oracle. It means that the Queens rotating between the bases is going to be a little bit more difficult, at least initially, until we have creep connecting them, of course. And I was about to say that because of the base layout, we have the opportunity for a Twilight Council opener. We were talking about how on Ancient Cistern, NightPhoenix was deterred from it because SortOf was able to get his natural base up and running. But now without it, NightPhoenix is going to be going for a very aggressive start here. Twilight Council is on the way. 3rd base is going to be delayed here for a little bit as well. The goal for NightPhoenix is to buy some time for the Adept to rock up, and the Adept does make it here in time. 3rd base is going to be delayed even longer. We're even going to be... the Shade is even going to be deterring his opponent even more here as... Oh, he wants the drone! Oh. Doesn't get it in the end, but again, this is such a long delay here for SortOf. Back at home, it is going to be Glaive Adepts. The question is, how many gateways are we going to see from NightPhoenix? As we actually didn't pull out a gas, so this is going to be very interesting. We could commit for 4 gates. We could even throw down some additional tech as well. I'm very curious to see how NightPhoenix does approach this. There's the Robo. There's the second gateway for now. Adepts trading here with the Lings of SortOf. So able to escape their clutches. And SortOf hasn't been able to say, oh no, there we go. SortOf was able to dip into the main base earlier, did see the Twilight Council as it was thrown down, and SortOf should be throwing down his Roach Warren soon. He has all the information he needs. And here at the 4-minute mark, momentarily, this is a bold move. We should be seeing a Roach Warren. We're not going to see a Roach Warren, we're going to see a Baneling Nest instead. Now, this can work as well. It's just very risky. It's risky because obviously Banelings are really slow at this stage of the game, and the goal here is for the Banelings to be in position to deter the Shade. And that can be a tough thing to do. It's not impossible. If SortOf is doing it, then I want to believe that he has it in him to pull this off. But again, it is very positioning based. Just make sure he's able to keep up here with the aggression of his opponent. Meanwhile, we're going all in. This isn't a 4-gate Glaive Adept. This is a 6-gate Glaive Adept. There is no third base. Glaives is all we need. Oh boy. Which makes me even more concerned for SortOf. Which, especially against a 6-gate Glaive Adept build, I feel like roaches are necessary. Without them, oh boy. I'm worried. I'm worried for our Zerg. not gonna lie, Poppy, not gonna lie. Banelings are being morphed in here at the third base location. Adepts are going to be threading a Shade in towards the natural. One Queen is going to be going down. The high energy Queen as well. Oh, the Adepts do avoid the Banelings just barely with the Shade. And the Lings are trying to lock them down. Decent connections, but the spread was good enough. The Adepts do survive. Those were the only Banelings, and we have another warp in the face of SortOf. This is getting out of hand. I imagine SortOf was expecting a 4-gate, not a 6. He didn't go back in to confirm. He cut some corners. Again, a really risky move to defend with only Banelings, and as a result, something like this can happen. As the Adepts kill Queen after Queen, they shade into the main base, and now the economic damage is being done. There is no answer to this War Prism as well because so many Queens have fallen. NightPhoenix, he just has free reign. We do now have some more Banelings, so he does have to be careful. Oh. Doesn't quite commit to the Shade, but oh my god, the main base is gonna go down. Ay, ay, ay. Ah, the positioning. Using the minerals here to just block off those Banelings. And we have Adepts everywhere else. At the third, the natural, the main as well. The main barely does survive with some transfuses, but GG gets called. It's far too much damage, and NightPhoenix will take the series 2-0. GG. Ah. My Zerg heart bleeds a little bit. It does bleed a little bit, as SortOf was, yeah, again, cutting some corners here in his defense. And Lingbane can work. It can work against Adepts don't get as strong. But it is just difficult to execute overall, especially when your opponent is going for an all-in. Like, it's unfortunate, but SortOf, he wasn't aware. I'm sure he just assumed it was just going to be a standard 4-gate blink opener. Was not aware that additional gateways were thrown down. That that NightPhoenix was all-in instead and was committing that much harder. So things snowballed very quickly, out of control. GG. GG. And congratulations, as NightPhoenix will be advancing on into the next round. Into their next series, which is going to be another PvZ. But a PvZ against a very different kind of player. Against Dongregyu. DRG, the Korean Zerg player. Oh boy, things don't get easier. They do not get easier at all. Oh boy, so best of luck to NightPhoenix. Was able to warm up and spread their wings against SortOf, but here against DRG, it's a bit of a different beast, a bit of a different caliber of player entirely. Unlike SortOf, DRG has been competing, has been very competitive in the land of Korea leading up to this tournament. Oh boy, it's going to be a tougher series here for our Protoss.